Welcome to this week's episode of Lagnapod. I'm Rob Holbert, your host. Everybody else who's here, let's have a roll call.
Ashley Trice.
Dale Leash.
Kyle Hemrick.
Tommy Hicks.
Everyone sounds so depressed.
We do. We sound down. We sound low energy today.
I'm tired, man.
Dale's bringing us down with his tiredness.
Yeah.
So Dale, are you tired of talking, or would you like to discuss your cover story?
No, let's talk about the cover story.
The veterans. We've been writing a lot about veterans lately.
We have.
Ashley has this issue. Do we say veterans or veterans?
I say veterans.
I like
Veterans.
a veteran.
Veterans.
What do veterans say?
I don't know. Some veterans probably say veterans, and some
I think it depends on where you're from, probably.
Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on to more important issues. You're writing about Vets Recover this week.
I was.
Tell us a little bit about Vets Recover.
Well, Vets Recover is a place that they now have inpatient recovery, inpatient recovery clinic on Spring Hill Avenue, and it's for veterans and first responders who have various forms of mental illness that are the root cause of alcoholism, drug and substance abuse issues. And so they're a bright spot, I think, and clinics like them are bright spots in what some would refer to as a really bleak time for mental health care in the state of Alabama. We're at the bottom or near the bottom of many, many lists when it comes to access to mental health care.
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
As always.
And this also ties into the governor's actions I guess is it a month ago now, where she fired Admiral Kent Davis from the Department of Veterans Affairs after he was voted on by the board that hired him to keep him on as commissioner over the governor says his mishandling of funds that were meant to go to veterans' mental health care. He claims that they did everything they could. So it all plays into that together. But back to Vets Recover, they offer inpatient and outpatient treatment for these veterans who are suffering from these mental health issues that might be causing some of these other issues.
Vets Recover was put together by John Kilpatrick,
Correct.
who is one of the he's also bore the wrath of the governor through some of this through this whole this whole dust up or scandal created when Kent Davis filed an ethics complaint, and the governor, before she asked for Kent Davis to resign or demanded that he resign, she also knocked John Kilpatrick off the Veterans Board.
Yeah. I think you're fooling yourself if you don't think that like John Kilpatrick isn't part of the issue of why Kent Davis is no longer here. And I'm not blaming him necessarily. No. I'm just saying what he has said and the way he's handled things, I think he's handled them in the best interest of veterans and his agency, obviously. I think it's rubbed some folks in the government the wrong way, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think he's pointing out some inequities.
I think those were the issues that were discussed in the ethics complaint that was filed by Davis, that there was personal animus that was involved in the
that's what I'm trying to
get rid of some of to move this money, to keep money from going to the veterans in the state, and that was why he filed the complaint.
But it's not just it's not just and Vets Recover is there's about $1 million in grant funds that they have not been able to receive, that they've been awarded.
Why have they
haven't received?
Why have they not been able to receive?
I mean, I read between the lines.
Is it through the state?
Yes.
So the state has money that has been awarded to them.
Yeah, state or federal government. It's controlled. The money being passed down to them is controlled by the state, though. So it's all caught up here, and it's not trickling down to Vets Recover, and so that's caused them some real financial hardships right now that they're trying to overcome.
From what I gather, Vets Recover is the only inpatient place in Mobile for veterans.
Well, I mean,
if you don't have insurance.
Yes.
If you don't have insurance.
That's fair. I think Alta Point does do some non-insurance work, but it's not focused solely for veterans.
But this is something that I think everybody agrees that was needed, or that there's a need for it in Mobile. And there's not, I think prior to that, if veterans would have to go to Birmingham for this type
correct
of for this type of
and it's not just Vets Recover that's being impacted. I talked to a veteran who is going to run a clinic in Valley that does very similar things to what Vets Recover does, inpatient stuff like that. He said in the time it has taken to get one clinic properly permitted through the state
in Alabama.
In Alabama, he's gotten 4 done in California.
Yeah.
There's something wrong there, man. When California, as big as it is more efficient at doing this sort of stuff than Alabama.
And it's known for having so much red tape to deal with.
Right. And Alabama's supposed to be known for taking care of veterans, and here we are, we're lagging way behind California. Something's up, man.
Well, I mean, I think getting back to the basics of, or the background of this story, it does seem like the actions of the governor have really called into question a lot of what's going on in the state in the area of mental health, and particularly in the area of veterans' mental health. And Vets Recover seems like, to me, it looks like something the city really needed, really could use. And I wonder why there's not enough help for them and not enough. It does seem like at the state level, there's an effort to abandon it to some extent. And I know you mentioned in your article that they had to lay off 23 people because they haven't gotten any money.
Right.
And
correct. That $1 million. And now, in fairness, I want to point out that Vets Recover is working towards being self-sufficient, but that's also going to require the state to approve some things and the federal government to approve some things that are slow to be approved. It's going to happen. They will be at some point be able to file insurance claims. And when they can do that, they're going to be more self-sufficient. Right now they're relying on these grants that they've been awarded and they haven't gotten yet. So this is causing the financial problems.
It's been a pretty amazing thing to see that whole project come to life, because I mean, it was out there. It's out there on Spring Hill Avenue. Yes. It was in an old abandoned building that had to be completely refurbished. Mm-hmm. John Kilpatrick deserves a tremendous amount of credit for looking at this issue and saying, I can do something about this, and getting it done really through force of will. And, I know he may rub the head of the state board of mental health the wrong way.
Yes.
But he's really done something pretty amazing.
He's not the most charming man in the world when it comes to.
He can be very charming when he wants to be.
But he has rubbed some people at the state the wrong way. And like I said, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
I think he's blunt sometimes.
Yes.
And that probably is not, he's an old military guy.
Yeah,
sometimes he's a little blunt, and sometimes that rubs people the wrong way.
As journalists, I think we appreciate that bluntness, but
bluntness does not hurt my feelings.
But other people may not appreciate it as much as we do.
Yeah, well, it's clearly the governor does not, and I think this is, I think this is one of the most shameful scandals of her entire.
It's embarrassing, frankly.
Her entire term in office, and she really ought to be ashamed of what she's done in this circumstance. I think it is way out of line, and I mean, just again, we've gone back to the whole issue of they can't even offer a reasonable example of this use of supreme executive power or whatever it was that they used.
And I can't find any. And I'm still working on a story of trying to pin down if that's ever been used in the state before. It's been used. It's been used in other states.
Well, Jeff Poore had in his column the other day that it has been used a couple of times, but it was not in circumstances that were anything like this.
Right.
And this is once again superseding the power of an independent board.
Right.
These boards are set up so that they cannot be yanked around.
It's supposed to be a check and a balance.
It is. And it's just, basically to say that we have the governor has the power to just unilaterally ignore whatever board that she's a member of.
I think she knows she doesn't really have the power.
Of course they don't.
Yeah. I mean, and who's going to do anything?
The most recent examples were in states with health officers during the COVID pandemic. It happened in Michigan. It happened in Mississippi. And we heard about it in Alabama, and it was the governor saying, people saying the governor couldn't fire the health officer.
She said she couldn't fire the
She said she couldn't. And then in Gretchen Whitmer had the same issue in Michigan, and Tate Reeves had the same issue in Mississippi. Right. Now, in Mississippi and Michigan, both of the state health officers ended up resigning. Yeah. So it didn't become a I'm going to call it what it is, a constitutional crisis that it may have become with Kent Davis here, in the fact that he didn't just resign. I mean, he was going to. Yeah. He didn't, ended up not resigning as quickly as the governor would have liked, I guess.
Well, they had a deal worked out. Right. She reneged the deal. She changed the deal.
Right.
They had made a deal that
he was going to resign at the end of the year.
And then she decided to change her mind.
So there hasn't been a situation recently, and I have not read Jeff's column, to be perfectly honest with you. I need to now because I wasn't aware of those issues, but there haven't been a recent issue that I can think, and I've talked to some political scientists who brought up the Mississippi and Michigan issues. There hasn't been a recent issue like the one that just happened with Kent Davis.
Even the ones that Jeff brought up are absolutely nothing like this. It was, some issues that when previous governors have mostly, I think, legal type of issues, but this is not that. And, again, when we contacted
and I talked to Don Siegelman too. Yeah, he didn't really comment other than to say it's a weird person to fire.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, when you have this kind of circumstance, if you're going to say that the governor sits on 400 boards, I think.
Yes,
and
correct.
So from what I've looked up, and it's if the governor sits on those boards and can just unilaterally do whatever she wants to do. And then other governors afterwards, because this precedent has been set, then we no longer need those boards. They're moot.
And by the way, I brought up the hypothetical with the governor's office and their spokesperson, specifically like, well, she's on the boards of the colleges in the state.
University of South Alabama.
Could she fire Joe Bonner? Could she fire Stuart Bell? Right. Could she fire whoever's in charge of Auburn?
Roberts.
Okay. Yeah. Could she fire those three guys unilaterally? And the response I got back, since I haven't written into the story yet, I'll just provide it. They thought we were making this an issue.
Yeah, I wrote it in a column, but they decided. They said, well, you guys have taken a position on this.
Correct.
And we're not okay. We are.
My position is I don't want the governor to overstep her authority.
We also, by the same token, we're giving them the opportunities.
Yes.
As I explained in my column, that we have given them the opportunity. We're trying to give them an opportunity to tell us where they got the legal right to do this and who told them they had it, and has it been done before.
And
instead of saying yes or no, they say, oh, you guys are bad, you're mean,
right,
and we're not talking to you anymore. Well, that tells you typically what you need to know is that I'm sure if they had several instances of it to show, that they would probably show it to us. But instead saying, well, you're not doing a good job as reporters. That's what we do.
Yeah, they're attacking us rather than defending their position.
I think that this, I've written several columns about it, and they're opinion pieces. That's my opinion. So, you're covering it as a reporter,
right,
and you're trying to give them the opportunity to. I mean, we would print whatever they sent us.
Yeah,
we print anything they send us.
We'd probably have people arguing why that's not relevant or whatever, or maybe we wouldn't. Maybe they're right on and they can do this. I don't know. I was trying to find out.
That's what we were trying to find out from the beginning, but they've never offered that.
It's just been frustrating, man.
Well, it is, but it's a really good story, and I think it's great that
we'll keep reporting on it as things occur. Yeah, so keep reading.
Yep. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk. We've got a lot of football winding up here this time of year, so we're winding up in different ways. So we'll talk with Tommy Hicks a little bit about it in a sec. And we are back with the lovely and talented Tommy Hicks. He likes it when I say that.
Second place in sexiest man.
I know. The runner-up again, every year.
Why do you keep losing to me, Tommy?
I think
it's very disappointing for you.
I think it's mostly PR.
Because I'm a Democrat.
It's mostly PR. So we've got lots going on in the high school football area. We got lots going on in college football. What's your pick? What's going on in high school right now? Where are we?
High school, we are heading into the second round this week. We have 10 teams still
10,
alive.
Right? Yeah.
We started out with 16. We now have 10. Baker will be at Enterprise this week. St. Paul's is at home against Pike Road. Spanish Fort is at Hueytown. McAdory is at Saraland.
Special guest appearance by Siri here.
Siri, you said something that really got her going.
I think Siri's.
She heard Pike Road and just lost control.
Saying her name, she's going to start talking again. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
She's a big Spanish Fort fan, so
Did you say Saraland? It probably Saraland sounded like.
I don't know if y'all keep saying it. It's going to start talking again.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Anyway, so that team that Siri likes is at home against McAdory. Citronell's at home against Montgomery Catholic. Williamson's on the road against Central Clay County. We got Vigrant Eufaula, Andalusia at UMS. UMS was number 4 team in their region. They barely got in. People thought, okay, they got one game and
one and done, right? Yeah.
And they went to Demopolis and handed them a 21-7
mopped them up. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
that's something good.
Nice.
Thanks. That's your dad joke for today.
Pretty surprising. That's 14 straight years they've gotten at least to the second round.
Wow. All right.
And 20
that's impressive.
To 26, I think they get at least to the third. Well, that's pretty amazing.
That is.
St. Michael, still alive. They will play at Pleasant Grove this week.
Is this their first time in the playoffs, or they made it last year?
They made it last year, but lost in the first round. So this was their first playoff home game in their new stadium, and their first playoff win under Phillip Rivers. So
very
now
nice.
They go.
Coach Rivers got them going.
And then Bayside Academy's at Alabama Christian. So
that sounds a lot of games.
We got a lot going on.
We sure got a lot going.
We got a lot of folks in there. It sounds like we've got some opportunities to have some state champions around here.
Yep.
College wise,
Lank baby. Roll Tide.
I don't know. It sounds like a stroke over there. So I'm going to ignore that for a second. So the playoff schedule was updated, right?
Yeah.
So what were there any surprises?
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, some teams that were up there kind of lost their balance last week. We won't name names, but they know who they are.
Yeah.
And some why you're looking at me.
And some other, because you're going to say something about something. So
LSU?
I'm just waiting. And then Alabama improved its standing by beating LSU at LSU. So it's going to, this is going to change every
week. This is the thing that's interesting to me, and I was thinking about it this weekend. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me I probably am, but it seems to me that these conference championships are going to become a detriment at some point.
No,
let me finish.
No, I'm not going to.
If you've got 3 teams that finish with the same record in the conference, 2 of them have to play each other. One of those is going to lose. The other team's going to come in second then because they didn't play another game. Right?
I mean, that's a good point. The man's got a good point.
That's a good point, isn't it?
It is.
That is a pretty good point.
That's a good point.
But
it's a very good point.
Being a conference champion, you're in.
Yeah, but I know the conference champions are going to like that. But I'm just saying,
they get a bye.
We've got it. There's a decent possibility that scenario is going to play out in the SEC this year.
Yeah, but it's going to play out with the schools that are not the SEC or the Big Ten.
Well, no, I could. I don't think the loser of the. I think what he's saying is the loser of the SEC is still going to make the top 12.
And even the third place team and the fourth place team.
Even with 3 losses.
So? Okay.
Yes.
Well, maybe so.
Get at least
you're right too in the fact that like right now I'd kind of prefer Alabama not make the SEC title game. I mean, I'd love it if they somehow scrape their way back in. It's all Georgia has to beat Tennessee and then all bets are off.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of like to see it, but also I see the people that are arguing that we shouldn't do it because then you have a possibility of not being in the top 4. You can host a playoff game possibly.
Right.
So you have to play one extra game, but that extra game is at home. Whereas if you'll have to play if you have to play the SEC title game, there's a chance you lose.
It can be fraught, and I just imagine down the line that or in other conferences where they maybe don't have 4 spots.
Yes,
that they're going to be, if you've got 2 spots and your team that is idle is going to basically, if there's 2 that are tied and you're the third one, you're guaranteed to jump up.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. 100%.
So,
and here's the thing too, like anybody who said they didn't like the 12-game playoff scenario, they are eating crow. This has been the most exciting college football season I've ever witnessed in my life. This is fantastic.
I thought forever that if they would do something like this and create more of a March Madness scenario.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
This would become the biggest thing in sports. I mean, it would be just so much. It really is more fun. It's to watch and see what happens. I mean,
and you're not out of it if you lose 1 or 2 games. Right. It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah,
or 3.
Well, if you're LSU or Alabama, you could probably lose 3. Yeah, but Alabama ain't losing 3 this year.
Okay, we'll see.
Unless the SEC title game.
What has South got upcoming?
They have the number 1 team in the Sun Belt this Saturday at home at Louisiana.
Yeah,
which is the only unbeaten team in the league for either.
Today they are.
No matter what division.
Talk to me next week.
Okay.
It'll be done.
And then they will follow that up with Southern Miss, which is not the best team in the league.
Yeah.
Probably the worst team in the league. And then the Friday after Thanksgiving, they get Texas State. So what they are looking at, they could actually still win the West.
Really?
But that's obviously they have to beat Louisiana this week. And then they have to get some help. Somebody else has to beat Louisiana. And Louisiana faces Troy and Southern Miss in their other 2 games. So you can, make your decisions on that as you feel. They would also need someone to beat Arkansas State because Arkansas State beat them head-to-head. So they would need to have 1 more win than Arkansas State. All of that could unfold if they win their last 3, but they also get some help. That seems unlikely just based on the schedule of games.
Right.
But what they can get, it still obviously is a bowl invitation.
Yeah.
They are sitting at 4-5. So that means they got to win 2 of the next 3. Lafayette, number 1. This is the 3rd straight number 1 team in the league they've played because Monroe was number 1 in the West when they played them and beat them. They played Georgia Southern, who was number 1 in the East, lost to them, and now they get Louisiana, number 1 in the West and number 1 in the league. Those are the only unbeaten teams. So,
let's hope they can take it. They're up for the challenge. I hope they are.
I think certainly they can beat all 3 of those teams. But if they don't fix their penalty issue and if they don't do well in the red zone and keep shooting themselves in the foot, then they could lose all 3.
They had Georgia Southern beat and then just let it slip away. So well, I hope they'll pull it together this week. What else we got going on? No, basketball's cranked up pretty good at this point, right?
Basketball is starting. College basketball getting underway. All of our teams. We're recording this Wednesday. Spring Hill women played tonight, and then all the college teams will have started their season. High school's underway. McGill had their big tournament last weekend. Things are shaping up with the flag football. We had 4 teams. Now we only have 1.
Okay.
Alma Bryant is still undefeated on the season. Unfortunately, they have to go against Central of Phoenix City next week, who won the state championship last year. And one poll has them as the number 1 team in the nation.
Okay.
Not just the state.
Okay. So this is a big challenge.
That's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting. But they've got a really good team, so you never know.
That's cool. That's cool that flag football's taken off so well.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Tommy. We appreciate it. We'll be back in just a minute with a little more. And we are back. So apparently we've got some non-Star Trek fans over at Chamber of Commerce. They're very much apparently the Chamber of Commerce has come out.
Why didn't we do a Star Trek joke for the Enterprise instead of a Hulk Hogan?
I don't know, because we weren't thinking. I don't know. It would have made more sense, right?
The headline should have been Stardate 2024.
That was a really big stretch.
So people may not know what we're talking about here, but the basic gist of it in a nutshell is the old USS Enterprise, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier.
The world's first.
The world's first is possibly going to come to Mobile to be dismantled.
Top Gun, correct?
Yes, it was in Top Gun.
It was in Top Gun.
It sure was.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a plan that has been in the works since I started here at least. This ship is old. It like saw action in Vietnam and all other kinds of zany conflicts.
One of the lingering stories.
The
bridge has been underway since we started the news.
Yes. This is one of those that linger. So the plan is
the bridge has been a story since you were born.
It has been a story since I was born. But the Navy wants to contract the dismantlement of this colossal ship to Mobile, Brownsville, Texas, or the Hampton Roads area.
Did you say it's the biggest ship in the world, or one of the biggest?
I think it is I saw something that said it is the largest vessel ever built for a Navy. It's huge.
Yeah.
And it could come to Mobile to be commercially taken apart piece by piece by a team of contractors here. This could cost at least $550 million.
Right.
And could take about 5 years to do. So they had some public comment meetings 2 years ago, and they kind of went through the process. And now we're at the point where some contractors with some local ties, North Star and Mars, which are some acronyms you'll read about in the story, have put in for this. And they say that they want to form a team, give us the multi-million dollars, and we'll take this ship apart for you. The issue is this is a former nuclear ship, and all of the radioactive juices have been drained from its reactors. Yes. But there are still some traces left. I think about 8,000 tons.
Do you regret sticking around, Tommy?
Yes.
Or are you happy you heard radioactive juices?
He's been waiting for radioactive juices for all afternoon.
He has.
There he goes. We're all ready.
He has. 8,000 tons could still be left. And that's what the chamber is.
Low grade radioactive materials.
Every day.
How low grade we talking?
We don't know.
We're talking about
like octopus children low? Or?
Maybe
a very pale shade of neon green.
Okay. All right.
Anybody east of 65, there could be some genetic damage.
Oh.
But otherwise you're okay.
But that's what apparently the Mobile Chamber is worried about. Is they put out a statement saying that if this thing comes to town, it could damage the public's perception.
Godzilla back, right? It could cause Godzilla.
Could bring a Godzilla back, but they're worried about the waterfront, the hotel that they have planned, the bridge and bayway, and they say that if this ship comes to Mobile and we start tearing it apart, we'll be negatively affected optically by the whole thing. It could harm the perception.
It looks bad. I don't know.
It looks bad.
They on the other side of the issue, they say that these nuclear materials are low grade enough that they could go through the U.S. Postal Service, right?
That is correct.
That's not reassuring.
Look, I mean, so can anthrax, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
That's what the Navy said.
That's not what the Navy trying to take sides, but
why don't they just mail the aircraft carrier and get it done? In pieces. Why don't they just do that? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, this is quite a kerfuffle over the thing. It's unusual that the Chamber of Commerce would take sort of a position on this, which seemingly is a little kind of in the face of some local business.
Unusual. It seems to be the way they're operating.
I'm shooting from the hip a little bit lately.
It's nice that they care about the environment now, though.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily the environment. They didn't really mention the environment.
But here's something too. These local contractors who want to put in for this are saying, think about all the jobs and the money that you could be losing. Mobile Chamber.
Yeah. I mean,
how many jobs are there?
There's going to be at least more than one job. This is going to be.
You are all-time pro, dude. Like
there's going to be lots of jobs. There's going to be because this is a massive ship.
It's a $500 million contract.
That's a big contract.
5 years worth of work at least to take this thing apart.
Yeah, that seems. Yeah. Apparently.
Just one
No,
guy.
there's two.
It's making a lot.
There's two.
I mean,
there's going to be a bunch of people down here tearing this thing apart.
I'm not going to lie to you. I just want to
Tom
see the
Cruise
thing.
will be one of them.
I want to see it.
It would be
And
cool
Anthony
to see. It would be absolutely cool to see. Yeah.
And see it kind of just get down to the hull and
Let's see Maverick come in his radioactive uniform and start just with a blowtorch and start taking pieces off the ship. Yeah,
he could. He sure could. Khan could come out.
Here's
a pro tip.
He's dangerous.
Here's a pro tip. Don't start at the bottom.
No, don't start at
That's
the
a pro
bottom.
tip. That's just if you punch a hole in the bottom of it, there's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ice.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Ice,
Green.
man.
This
Water.
is dangerous.
Anyway. Yeah, so it's kind of a fascinating story, and obviously one that we find amusing. I don't know why, but it's
I've had a hoot doing this for the past 2
you got
years.
Star Trek, you got
you got
Top
a
Gun.
all kinds of
I think
material.
we just need to take it, bring it here, and just do a bunch of movies off of it.
You could
not
park
worry
it.
about-
You could
not
park
worry
it
about
next
this
to the Alabama.
radioactivity.
Top Gun 3.
Yeah, just have like a no-go zone in there.
Yeah. Or
Nicolas
We
Cage is
could,
gonna.
we could let this 80-year-old chair come and do some sort of straddling of the cannons like she did.
USA should play.
She could.
USA could play a basketball
There
game
are
on
no
it.
cannons on an
aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carrier.
Whatever.
What we
She would have to
could
straddle
do-
something
she
else.
can hump something.
That voice is a cannon. How about
There you
that?
go. Anyway, well, let's move along. It's,
Do we have to?
Yeah, I think it's time.
no.
I think we've beaten this one to death. You also were over there at the library, and we had a meeting in Fairhope about some
That's
more
right.
library stuff. Let's roll through this pretty
That's
quick,
right.
and then we're going to try to
Yes.
get to
So-
something about some other stuff.
So we've heard a whole lot over the past several months from people who are concerned about these obscene air quotes books in the library in Fairhope. Last night, we got to hear from the other side of the issue, people from Read Freely who are saying, these extremists, air quotes.
That's not a law firm. That is
Not
it's
a law
group
firm.
called Read Freely.
Read,
Yes,
READ Freely. It's
Right.
it's a pro
want you to be able to
book.
read,
Yeah,
yes.
they want you to be able to read and do it freely.
Cousin of IP.
Yeah.
Cousin of IP.
I know that one. Yeah.
So they said that air quotes, these extremists are trying to take away all these books that basically represent the diversity of this society.
You also had one of the people from the library system that was there who spoke out, right?
The chairwoman of the library in Fairhope said there have been plenty of challenges to the books in the library over the past year or so, but they've not moved any of them. They have stayed
She said
where they are.
there was no obscene material.
There's
there.
no pornography.
And
is
that
what
they
she
were
said.
all in anything that was questionable or of a sexual nature was in its proper place.
in
is
the
what she
section
said.
it's supposed to be.
Yes.
That's exactly
So
right.
it's
exactly
interesting. Well, it's that as always is an ongoing story, but there was a lot
Right.
of pushback on that.
right.
So let's move along to the election was last week, obviously. One of the things we found out in the last few days is about write-ins.
Right.
We had a lot of write-ins. I know a lot of people wrote things in. I wrote a few things in on my ballot.
I did too.
We're trying to get a lot of that information. Still kind of slow in coming. But one of the ones we found out was that the beloved president of the Alabama Public Service Commission, Twinkle Kavanaugh, had the most write-ins against her. She had 41,000 write-ins.
And she was running, and to be fair, she was running unopposed. So,
She was running
if you didn't
unopposed.
want to vote for her, right.
Yeah.
Yes. I am aware, I've been told by at least 5 people that I receed votes.
I voted for you for that
Okay.
position.
So I've got kind of a juggernaut type of outsider campaign, but that's pretty fascinating that
I was
she had
wondering
that
when all
many
those
people.
Alabama Power ads started coming in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, as soon as the bag of money showed up,
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
that's what I want. As soon as I get elected, I want that satchel, that suitcase full of cash. Yeah, that's
And also the envelope of the photos of you doing something.
yeah.
Scanned.
I need those. Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. There's no photos like that. Anyway, that was
Not
it's
what I
interesting
hear.
stuff. I hope we'll see some more of these the write-ins. I think it's always fun to see.
We have made requests to get a breakdown of all the write-ins for the statewide. Well, at least for our area.
Yeah.
We're waiting to hear back. That's going to be a really fun story. I want to know how many Bart Simpsons were voted for.
Yes.
How many Mickey Mouses. Nick Saban probably got a few votes.
Yeah. I'm curious. So, I mean, on the ballots, the constable races did not have a candidate. They were all write-in.
I wrote in Brady Petrie for one of the constable positions.
Did they declare a winner at all?
I know they will.
I know.
There are people that run write-in campaigns.
I wrote in David Rasp. I know that Taylor Swift got a vote in my family as well. So that would be great if she would show up to be a constable. I'd like to see her out there directing traffic.
And serving. Could you imagine being served divorce papers by Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I mean, great. We had a guy in town. We did a story on.
We wrote a story from a guy in Spring Hill that's the constable now, and he ran
this last week.
And he ran a writing camp. We did a little bit,
but he got a job with very little, very very few votes. So it's anyway.
We need to check back in with him, see if he ever did.
I don't know. Yeah, see what he did with his life with that. But yeah, so anyway, Twinkle had some pushback, but
some write-in opposition. Sure,
but she still gets elected over and over.
1.5 million votes. I think.
I had someone who wrote me and said, "I can't believe she's unopposed." And I said, "Well, she was opposed in the primary, but people didn't vote."
People don't pay enough attention, man. Like that's a more important position than people give it credit for.
My theory on this is that someone with also a cute nickname needs to run against
That's
her.
What Ashley says. Yeah, yes. We need to have somebody named Dumpling.
Because I think people who do not pay attention to the PSC, because if they were, they would know better to vote for her. But they just go, Twinkle, that's so cute.
Would you vote for a Twinkle or a Sparkle? Which one would be more?
Oh, that. Both kind of nauseating.
I think Dumpling would be
good.
It's got to be without the G. It's Dumpling.
But would it be what if it was a man and his name was like Tom Dumpling Johnson?
I like that.
She doesn't say her real name. She just says Twinkle.
I thought Twinkle was her real name.
You just went by Dumpling. He's Dumpling Johnson.
Dumpling Johnson.
She's Twinkle Andress Kavanaugh, right?
Yeah. I don't know that that's her nickname. It may just be her
I think that's her first name.
It says her affectionate nickname. It's not her.
It is not her real name.
Boy, they fooled me.
Oh, well.
I mean, so come up with some. I mean, I have the same theory with Young Boozer, our state treasurer.
I 100% voted for him the first time
because of his
Boozer. I'll continue to vote for him in whatever race he runs in because of his name, Young Boozer. I mean, could you imagine Young Boozer as governor?
You don't need like a Trump endorsement. What you need is a dumbass nickname to win a state race in Alabama.
It's just,
I think Young Boozer is his real name as well.
Yeah, it is. He did say
his real name is Young Boozer.
Well, he's Young Boozer the third.
Yeah, he's like
Trip Boozer.
Yeah, he's Trip Boozer. Triple Boozer.
I know somebody who I think went to Alabama with him. So there's that.
Wow.
I mean, it's an older gentleman.
So any dumplings
obviously.
out there?
Dumpling, get in the race.
Yeah.
Dumpling McGillicuddy.
Well, that's all we've got this week. That's all the political advice we have this week, Dumpling. So we're going to take a break. We'll come back next week with another episode of Lagnapod.
Love you. Bye.
The Lagnapod is a Something Extra publishing production. Executive producers are Rob Holbert and Ashley Trice. Music is by Some Pole Sounds and Electro Animals. Only subscribers like you have access to this podcast. Tell your friends they can sign up at my.lanyapmobile.com. For advertising opportunities, please call 251-450-4466.